When they finish the course, she said,
They are. I got my diamonds.
I said, what you mean? How you get a nice situation?
You want to know just with the United States?
This was from last week.
As well.
She was hearing your conversation from last week.
Get the
They
whole
need to make more.
She's like the same person, right?
Technology is technology. The US could. No. They develop it, they don't.
The reason is why is it?
It's like they.
Lost friends, y'all.
I'm trying to find out this. It's like they.
You don't forget.
In the beginning.
Because trust me, some things you won't forget.
Good.
She didn't want to forget. She'd be like, she'd be like, hey, I gotta take a G-shot.
How we do it. They don't see, they can really see the surprise and that this person is going to show the students and they are going to go to the and there's a great disparity in the country as well. Okay, right? Sounds like just words.
Because he has to mention there
the thought process is that it's suspected to be a stressor that will indicate to the world that there is the possibility of
So what happens is,
no, the thought process is that although the owners are sitting there and surviving on concessions for a short term, what is their long-term viability going to be as a market consultant and other countries? Because some level and somewhere else is now consistently supplying China with those products.
crazy diseases and infestations and so on. So, you know what you get me, you don't know what you're going to get.
From a technical product viewpoint, the thought process and the outright suggestion is then to go to India and to go to Japan to get those products.
Is there any peanuts?
but that's a short.
No.
No. This is the presentation is that. There's no question on it. I know that's what you said.
I don't do no presentations here.
That's a wide one.
I'm just going to say other parts of the picture and to see more on like just in as well
Somebody in your group should talk about Basel on the subject matter.
See, but you cut it short. I was looking for.
Somebody. You say you want some peanuts? Yeah, Basel.
I have a question.
Someone word.
Is Basel is applicable outside of banks?
Yes. You want me to explain it?
Please.
I want to distract everybody while they're trying to focus.
Well, if you have to present on it, that's fine. Yeah.
No Basel.
Shemaine, look here, back to you.
So yeah.
Committee for Spontaneous Organizations and to make financial reporting more standard. Not only yes, but also AICPA, Institute of Internal Officers, and several other organizations came together and said, okay, we're going to stand this over under the mask to make sure, because we have users relying on financial statements, we want to make sure that everything that whoever just reporting, then their information is standardized.
Yeah, that's what I
It's like banking, but also like
Gap and IFRS and all that. What they did was they wanted to make sure they also accounts also
trade,
reports on the of the entity to make sure that give an extra reliance, I guess, give an extra value to persons using the financial statements to say that these figures, although you can be provide absolute assurance, you can provide useful assurance that
like this money.
if they are technicals, you get satisfactory control report, then okay, and you get a clean opinion, then more than likely you should be able to provide this, but
Yes.
the general control framework is the control environment, risk assessment, information and security, information and communication, monitoring and existing control mechanisms. That is like policies and procedures and so on to make sure that everybody in the industry is knowledgeable about what the processes are and how the department themselves monitoring the assets, general audit, going into an independent exam. So
Aside to, put the microphone visualize in my mind because we're going to be examining the inside of
Yeah, well,
It just seems to be a governmental
to ensure to the structure this risk that is so extraneous.
I'm trying to fix it to my
There
word.
is a contingency for
what's your word?
Financial conflict service provider.
I only got this 1 hour ago, so I'm not trying to answer it. That's not his fault.
from the electronic entities, people and everybody else, next set of people and everybody else. They concentrated.
You on SSB and then you can think about that.
No, I basically I'm over there at our office. No, we do back office.
The lenders or the borrowers or whoever it is that you're exposed to, or that you're doing business with, people that you're in business with, they call it concentrated something. There's a term for it. Concentrated something. Anyway, when I put all my eggs in one basket.
I can see it.
So you'll be
There's a term in wrestling.
now, the thing is,
It references
it's still mostly
that you do business with. I can't remember what it is. Anyway, most electronic firms throughout the world, globally, all taken photos and imported out search to
The difference
to China, specifically, who was undercutting all of the Asian nations as well as India. Although India and Singapore could provide that. So a number of them were making cost cutting, but you've concentrated now, you have this concentrated business element because you've put all that risk there because everything that you need.
That's probably what leverage is. Because that's about the leverage, right?
It should be. It should be.
But that's the opposite of it at that time.
So yes, it's still
refers to the type of
concentrated exposure.
You mean diversification?
The US has.
That's what you mean, right?
Yes.
Diversification.
There's still a term that I'm looking for, but
So the US
concentrated exposure.
Yeah.
So we don't stop.
I have no idea. I'm just feeling lost right now. So there's no.
Well, Basel is actually
The portal is. I don't know if it's a name. It's what he does. I mean, it's there is, but I'm probably.
So without supervisory review and the disclosure and the but that's which makes the capital questionable because you don't have
Yeah, but how do we put it together?
just the way we just said.
But we remember it.
The issue with the US is they themselves. So why?
But they've not because they've concentrated. Because they've not.
Because they're political.
They've not leveraged themselves.
Political risk.
Yeah, political.
And that's what
And social risk.
and interestingly, that's what got Trump is raising on his seat out and y'all being on a degree. Yes, he has more jobs.
It's literally
Two babies.
Yes, it's an ego. It's an ego. But the
Go to a
I like some. From all the turn away in that country.
And what you say is what the Lord say this.
today asked the
The
family.
Lord ain't say Trump.
The Lord ain't
The Lord ain't say Trump. When you
That was actually y'all and y'all break.
I don't know.
the Lord. That
So,
prophecy came from 1989.
Well, I know the Bible to say what coming and what ain't come. And I think all of it gets said.
10-minute
So
presentation.
when the two great nations were born now.
Somebody's done it.
Trump specifically for the establishment of diplomacy inside Jerusalem, such a time as this, and for the abortion. There's going to be another, the next question about it is super important, it's going to be pushed. And they're going
Yeah, they did change it. They changed it.
two states.
They said if they investigate and found that you deliberately
Just
aborted
get
your
bad.
baby.
What's up?
I guarantee you that. Hillary Clinton. The other things I think even local president, she's consultant, which isn't more luxury stuff.
The vice president was
I don't know how they passed that. But anyway, like you said, we'll see. We'll see what the Bible
But there was
says.
two things. Mark my words.
from
Take
our point of
personality
view,
out of it. It's the only person who do that.
from our point of view, we asked the Fed today to decrease interest rates. So the economy can survive this pseudo
You know, man, I always went first.
I think he is pretty.
And they used to like, they used to ask me, cool. I used to put up photos.
I think more to come though.
This is what it is. It's like, where's the words? I said, where's it?
Once you got the limit.
So listen to me.
That's why you need somebody right to be.
say so we can beat China.
He wants us to be the great nation. The great nation of course to be the
It's
U.S.
to decrease interest rates so that we could
China. We've had healthy discussions, but in terms of organizing a presentation, it's gonna be some mess. We don't use.
It'll be fun.
We go with it.
Yes. Yes. Everybody's a mother at this table. That's not a trick question.
Your mother?
Mom.
Yes.
Your mother?
No, I'm not.
No.
3.
I know.
Oh my God!
Did you see your brother when he said
What are you
they
talking
was
about?
ask the kids and you said, you know, right? So I figured, ask the kids.
What are you talking about? Are you serious? Everything is stressed out.
No, it's not a calculated question.
Oh, so you have to open by nose or like a bomb, that's fine. This baby came in here with 5 So it is a risk because you're only in the one for grade. Locals. What you mean live?
Yes, seriously, it really is. It really is.
I believe that. No, it's like sitting
Very,
every
very
30.
serious.
But yes, those numbers are being reported to the
Not just I want information.
yeah.
I work with all kinds of who are trained. I have about 90% of them off, and about 90% of them are doing it. They're cleaners. They're cleaners. Trust me. And I
Clean it up.
into the I'm asking you, I speak 2 languages, I can do the job, let me do the job.
Oh, 5 minutes.
They didn't work it out. After long, they're reading their classes from
Already? Again, 60s and 80%.
It's part of the same thing. Last 5 sessions I did. I don't know why.
Yes.
At that point, I just started organizing the question bank. I couldn't start doing research anymore readings.
How you finding out?
A lot of reading. A lot of reading. All the boring information.
Learn. It's exciting. It's exciting.
So you're saying once we create a, I guess, data bank of information, and when we different questions that we are asked, it should cover the majority of questions we may face during the time.
Conceptually. Conceptually, yeah.
Which means maybe if you go involved in that.
think the best thing to do is
They pretest questions, eh?
devices. No, I don't have multiple devices. I have several electronic
Audrey,
gadgets.
we have seven. You got gadgets and she got devices.
There you go.
So, you know, they
Yeah.
stop them.
Good?
How many questions you go over so far? I printed them out. Did you get the tabs?
They don't say.
I get right. I have I always have stationary.
Never know. Might be great. It's always great.
We need to present this to you.
I want to go first.
Oh, they go first, thank you. Oh, okay, go then.
I'll do that today.
Put these questions down.
Y'all want to do a rock, paper, scissors thing?
The more coverage.
Pick out the bag thing?
No, some of them like the culture.
So, any objections about going first, second, or third? Or fourth? Last? Preferably last. So, y'all want to go? Y'all want to go first? So I'll finish first, and you all finish first.
There you go. So it's a possibility that we've just not used it. And so, even getting you sitting pretty good. This is also.
Are you so violent, man?
So two of the most big
So I'm gonna take a body break.
questions from the.
What?
Yes,
You know, we were trying to get this over with, no, nobody.
It doesn't come on. Two tabs from over there.
I don't even know.
Person knows absolutely not.
And if not,
If they could
don't
pass it,
leave, just let us finish.
Tell me.
Just leave it.
as soon as we come in, I say,
If I come here, I
Some
read,
people
read, read,
just
like,
don't.
I'm smart, when I come And I keep telling people, man, I feel so down, man. It's like,
You feel better when you leave, right?
No, but you're not.
Oh,
this
Lord.
person, I don't think this person's possible.
Okay. All right. Okay, guys. Okay, so we are going to set up. That's cool. So if y'all could come down, because I want to give them some space. They need their space. I'm going to move this table.
They can put them down.
No, we're going to start up front. Why in the Bahamas we always just ask a bunch of questions? We're going to present in the front.
I need my fan.
This is a professional course. Okay, notwithstanding my approach, right? This is still a professional course. All right? And there's certain skills that you're going to develop in each session. Okay? While some may not need it, there are some that do. Like me, I could always enhance it. Okay, so if you all want to take a 40 break, whatever, get some water, that's good. Yeah, because I want you to have space. Hold on. That was your table.
Yes.
Yes. They didn't have that table there. That's why it's like you moved on the table.
Oh, so you need another table, that's all you're saying? Okay, great. Well, I already fixed that.
That's fine.
You just actually somewhere. It's your book. You want your book?
No,
You sure?
I'm fine.
Okay, so let me move this.
What is he gonna hit
This.
us? Bam. Hit us.
Listen, let me tell you.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
Restroom.
Could you go? You guys are going first. Okay, so today we decided to choose our ERM study approach by way of case study analysis. Case study analysis is very, very important because you have the ability to be able to critically assess particular issues, in most cases off the cuff, and then in some instances you have to come up with very sound judgment that defines policies and procedures and impacts an entire organization, sometimes sectors and countries. And so people will wonder, in the context of perhaps some fiscal policy from the government, did they form a committee and thought about this?
Yeah.
Right? They travel and represent us. Right? So, the greatest part about all of this is that you chose your own. And what is required of you is to touch on each module. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Notwithstanding, you would have just received it. And you are to touch on all of the supplemental data that you would have received. So it should come out in your address.
I can promise you, you will not be getting.
Thank you.
That's fine.
Put that out there.
That's fine. That's fine. It should come out in your address. And believe it or not, you think it's not going to come out.
Yeah.
But it's already there.
Yeah.
So, first group.
All right. You ready behind you?
So there are no point presenters. Everyone should make a presentation, contribution. I hated in high school when one person they did all the work. I don't mind. Okay. So, what is the name of your company? What's the name of your company?
Company
You can use your name.
Yeah, company A.
Okay. Company A. Give me a real name.
Well, attitude adjustments.
That's your company's name. Attitude Adjustments.
Yeah.
Attitude Adjustments Incorporated.
Yeah.
Right?
LLC, we want trade.
LLC.
Yeah.
Splendid. And who is your regulator?
We got plenty of regulators.
Well, what is the nature of your service?
We provide risk management services, I assume, that's why.
So we have an FCSP license.
You have an FCSP license.
So, Securities Commission.
So, Securities Commission. Okay. That sounds about right. Attitude Adjustments LLC. Their company is an FCSP and then an LLC. That makes sense?
Yeah.
An LLC and then FCSP.
No,
Something
under
really wrong with the
under
structure.
Bahamas regulations, so we can't be a limited liability company and
No.
LLC. No.
Thank you.
All right.
No.
Fix it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Just
So limited there then.
Limited,
Yeah.
limited.
Limited.
Yeah.
Fix it. FCSP.
What else?
You have to say what service we provide.
What service are you providing?
Providing.
Consultancy.
Consultancy.
Attitude Adjusters Consultants Limited.
Who's your target market?
B2B. We do corporate
corporate companies. Um,
Corporate drama.
Yeah.
Yes.
The corporate drama.
Corporate drama.
a lot of our clients have problems now because of the risk-centric country that we have. So we have
And
established
the
this
recent
company
implementation by Central Bank.
and the Securities Commission.
So
We're there to service that need in the country.
Helping companies.
So that because people stressed.
yeah.
Going through a lot.
You're going through a lot.
Yeah.
So we want to help them
Get
manage
them through it.
their risks.
Yeah, they want
Any
transfer
potential
their
issues
risk onto
they want
us.
So they
So
outsource.
that's
What's your client number, your client base right now?
We got with 5 clients.
5 clients.
Companies, yeah. About
As a percentage of your balance sheet.
yeah, but they're big clients.
I don't know why y'all just didn't say this is our first presentation. Y'all like know where he coming from.
These other groups?
As I said,
As a percentage of your balance sheet, you're still presenting.
Okay.
As a percentage of your balance sheet.
Yes.
Y'all paying attention? Y'all paying attention? Okay. As a percentage of your balance sheet, your client base.
Yeah.
How much is it?
65%.
65%. 5 clients make up 65%.
We have
Yeah.
some really big clients,
You have
really big portfolios.
big portfolios. What's the source of that wealth coming from?
A lot of their wealth is coming from real estate.
Real estate.
Real estate.
And ultra high net worth clients. Clientele.
and residuals from
Insurances.
retirements and investments.
Insurances.
Okay, cool.
As an FCFP,
Mm-hmm.
our client base can make family offices as well.
No, because we're going to get
That's about right.
company to tell
Is
them.
that right?
That's just like their policy of client.
You want to be good?
Yeah, we good. Yeah.
Y'all good?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your case?
All right. We chose a case from WhatsApp. All right. As you know, everybody uses WhatsApp these days. There's a case study that's happening right now that was just brought, let's say, in the last 2 days, whereas WhatsApp found a fatal flaw in their security
Actually,
system.
last week Thursday, sorry.
Yeah.
Remember, come back.
In their security system. All right. Now, based on the security flaw, we looked at it, and we are going to discuss exactly what some of the ERM issues are with it. You know, with the ERM issues, you know, we have, how should I put this? You have the business portion of it. You have the operational portion of it. You also have the legal portion of it. And what's next? And sorry. And well, in any event, we will be taking specific parts out of it.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay. So one of the major flaws that we saw in the case was the operational risk aspect of this breach. Okay. And just to sum it up a bit, WhatsApp was in the process of upgrading its data,
Yeah. So,
right? And it's software data. And to do an upgrade for all you lovely WhatsApp people. But what happened was some Israeli hackers put a spyware into the system, and they installed, I think it was a spyware on the phone where they can see you on your phone.
using
Now, using your camera.
your camera.
Now the issue, now the thing about it was they did not target me and you and us the locals. They targeted some highly influential people. Okay, so that also speaks to terrorist type risks and all of that. But we'll get into that later. Okay, so basically we know that WhatsApp was just purchased by Facebook, and the operational
problems that exist in Facebook has definitely translated into their smaller business unit, which is WhatsApp. Okay? And one of the senators on Wall Street was just talking about how Facebook approach has always been about profit, 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 right? As opposed to having a genuine concern for the security and privacy of its owners. So this again speaks to their corporate governance and also their strategy, which they have decided to, well, Zuckerberg is saying now he's gonna focus more on controls and getting his operational side of his business intact. Okay? So this is one of the major risks that we see coming out from this, and it has a lot of ramifications for bigger things to happen throughout Facebook, yes, and also America, USA as a country, because well, I was just telling my people, I don't know why they don't hire the hackers. You know, hire the hackers. Okay? I've seen
They
them
do,
out
the
there.
FBI does.
You know, because Facebook is, in my opinion, too big to fail. There are too many people that are, you know, that use Facebook and are, you know, impacted by Facebook and WhatsApp. So they have to pay attention to their operational risk and make that priority on the board, senior management, and come up with viable and sound practices so they can avoid these kind of events.
Awesome. Now, on the flip side of that, y'all mind if I go next, right? Thanks. On the flip side of that, WhatsApp itself, the intent of WhatsApp was to be an encrypted app. And due to that, a lot of people feel that they have the ability to use it as a privacy tool. You're not aware or you're free to use it. You don't have any inhibitions of sharing any kind of data on WhatsApp. The market risk in this determination would be on the probable side of you actually sharing data in WhatsApp that these persons who breach the system could now have access to. Say like myself, locally, we use WhatsApp at work. We have a WhatsApp group. We share documents through WhatsApp. Yeah, so the market risk in that is you have information flowing freely. And on the flip side of that, on a global spectrum, say that these fellas were successful in their attempt, what they sent out the spyware for, to gather information. These guys are EU. They are from the United Emirates. They terrorists. The global impact could be, say, war, some terrorist act. So it can be a detriment to the market, because when wars come, there's recession. That some people make money. That's why, you got some presidents in the past who urged wars. But on the flip side of that, you have us as the layman who can get laid off due to wars. Yeah, so that's market risk.
Okay. I am looking at the legal risk involved in this attack. Basically, that's any loss or expense that can be brought to a country as to a company, as a result of the attack that just recently happened. Okay, like my colleague said, WhatsApp sold itself on the basis that it's encrypted end-to-end user, meaning only the person sending and the person receiving is supposed to be able to view this information. The legal ramifications of that are that, like she said, businesses share information. Now it's open to anybody now who has the ability to hack to see exactly what's happening, whether it's a personal photo from you to a loved one, or a legal document that could change the course of an international group of companies that use this device or use this software as a means of sharing information, basically. And once a company of this magnitude experiences legal risk, it opens up now for credibility wise what's going to happen to this. It's going to. Am I getting it? it means now that the company within itself has to mitigate any future losses that can come up by putting into place, because they are putting into place as a result of this attack, saying now that they're updating the app. So once you update your Facebook app today, you now get the protection needed to protect from this thing happening to our devices going forward. So like I said, the legal ramifications are loss to the business, loss globally, loss of advertisers that used it as a mechanism to getting their business pushed, and it could potentially cause Facebook and WhatsApp, because of all the legal things that are happening back to back, to lose a lot of business, because they may hold a monopoly for social media content, but they're not the only persons. So if everybody flocks to another group today, then that group is now holding the monopoly. So it can really cause an issue for them as an organization, because they can lose business, basically.
So my focus would be reputational risk, but to go over what my colleague said, WhatsApp has about over 1 billion users worldwide, used daily. About 55 billion messages are sent a month. People use it in business. They use it to contact. It's quick. It's free. There's no ads, so it's used quite frequently, and it's also linked to Facebook. So, from a company or a business standpoint, in terms of the reputation now of WhatsApp, companies may not have to implement policies and procedures in terms of staff communicating, employees communicating, communicating with clients. It's big data out there, so you don't know how your information that you're sharing is being affected, where it's ending up, where it's going. And as a business owner or being in the financial services sector, your clients have a right to their privacy. So now companies, as what do we call it? What? Attitude adjustment.
Attitude adjustment consultancy limited.
So we now have to assist our clients. We now have to assist our clients in terms of giving them advice on the use of social media in the business place and sharing of client and information over WhatsApp.
All right. That's basically, how should I put this? That's basically a nutshell of the ERM program. Management. Be mindful, we touch business, we touch legal, operational, and market. All right. We didn't touch investment, however. So we didn't touch investment risk. However, we know that the investment portion of it is the fact that due to this, people who want to invest in the company they who's going to want to invest in a company that has all these risks. All right, so that's basically in a nutshell our presentation for this afternoon.
All right.
Here we go.
Feeling good, huh?
That
was good, hey?
Yeah.
Really?
All right.
Yeah,
Questions?
I just can't.
Questions?
Jessica, man.
Don't forget you next.
I have a question.
She knows she next. Just put it on.
I like it because it's a niche market that the company's in. So my question to you guys, seeing this gap, as it were, what would be your advice to companies about a document protocol?
It's definitely needed, I feel, because going forward we can see now that terrorism, whether it's international or national, can come at you at any time. So there are certain measures that need to put in place to protect not only the company from any legal ramifications, but as an end user, my information being put out to the public. So before I subscribe to any internet-based business, I need to see your documentation that should something of this nature happen, what's my recourse? And you as a company need to be protected within itself, because you don't want your 1.5 billion users now coming at you with a lawsuit. Because while certain people were targeted, I still feel like my personal business is my personal
Compromise,
business.
yeah.
So I want a piece of the pie too. So that definitely needs to be something that's made stronger in all internet-based companies.
And I only asked the question because I like you are the ones giving advice to the companies, so
Right.
that's.
And we
a big
also can
selling
make
point.
the suggestion of a countermeasure in password protection of documents, of attachments. That can also be something inclusive.
And the fact that we follow the legislation and laws now with the new FTRA, we must have a documentation policy.
Exactly.
We would encourage them to obviously have internal controls, documentation policy written, destruction of documents, being able to keep client information in an accessible electronic format, encrypted, safe, offsite, all that sort of stuff. The fact that client data information we can use if you're taking any information offsite, such as senior management, laptops, phones.
Skeleton key.
Yes, you either have a key or there's a VPN, like a protected. What is it? VPN
Yeah,
protected.
VPN,
So
yeah.
that sort of stuff, and that with GDPR and the European clients, if this is something that's global and worldwide, they have a right to ask for
These things to be
for
in
these
place.
things to interact with them. So for you to have policies and procedures and a system in place that the client feels safe and that they feel that they're documented, that their data is safe.
And
they
the
have a right
company
to
is
it.
protected as well.
Yes.
Legally, one
Yes.
Any other questions?
And under Basel. Under Basel, the third pillar of Basel 2 and 3, the company has to give some disclosure, to the stakeholders that are involved. So when they come up with their various controls and their risk measures, this must be communicated, and under the Bahamian FTRA 2018, the risk assessment must be done annually.
Give him some water.
So if I am a client of this company, I will look to see what are your risk measures. Okay, have you done a self-risk assessment of your business? Okay, your products, all of the channels that you use and your clients, have you done this? So basically, under Basel, we have to, yes, there's a disclosure that must be done so the users are protected and they know what the company is supposed to do.
This is your phone, sir?
You have to
Get some water.
Give him some water. Where's the water today?
No short, a G short.
For 10 minutes? Sure was.
Let's go.
And you said you want to comment? Someone said they had a comment?
So, I'd like to know, based on the breach, what sort of financial impact this breach has had on the company's resources and revenues, and what sort of how are you now going to? I understand fully what measures you're going to put in place, but we just want to know exactly what was the financial impact or ramifications as a result of the breach that resulted from.
As it stands now.
It's too early to
Yeah,
say.
it's
the
too early
damage.
to
It
say.
just
The last
happened
time we
Thursday.
checked,
Yeah.
but the last time we checked, their stock prices are down like 1.1%.
Yes, 'cause I wanted to know.
Yeah.
what
It
the
decreased,
effect
but
was.
we don't foresee that that's the end of the decline, because it's still recent. They're still doing investigations. They're still looking into it. But the reality of it is, if there is no confidence or faith in a company, investments and stocks always drop.
Yeah.
Now, do we believe that it will remain down?
Nope.
No.
No,
Because
of
what
course not.
losses are really out there.
Because Facebook,
Unless another company pops up today or tomorrow,
Yeah.
Create space in the
Great space in the
if
market.
somebody takes advantage of it,
They have a huge market.
They have a
Exactly.
problem.
Yeah.
but as of right now, today,
Yeah.
it's declining, but we foresee that it will pick back up should nothing else
Yeah.
pop up. If
And
everything
if-
remains the
Yeah.
same.
And if you notice too, they've kind of put in a kind of safe thing by telling their users, hey, download
The new-
latest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
upgrade your app.
So this happened like Thursday.
They've already come
Friday
in
they shooted out a
to
new
say
one.
download the
Yeah.
updated app to update your
They
phone so that
immediately
you're no
put
longer
security in
affected.
place.
you know, so I think that kind of plays on the mind of the users as well. 'Cause how do we know that they fixed it?
Well, half of us don't know that there was a breach.
No, because it was, it was only in the UK market. They state that it was only in the UK market, it was not in this region.
International brand, but
Yeah.
persons that use it for business are fully aware.
Me and you sending pictures about muffin?
Yeah.
And historically speaking, even with even with Zuckerberg,
Yeah.
when he went before the U.S. What it was before? Congress with respect to the company, Facebook took a dive for a little while and they picked right back up. So historically speaking, we don't see it happening.
We see a bounce back.
Square off, we good?
Any other questions?
All hearts and minds are clear?
Not a question, just a comment. You said earlier that usually when there's war, there's a recession. That's not always the case. Some countries go to war in an effort to spend, to stimulate the economy.
And she did say some people do benefit from war, and they cause war because they'll benefit.
Because
Yeah.
war causes you to spend trillions and trillions of
Yeah.
dollars, so that's going to stimulate the economy.
Awesome.
That's to avoid a recession.
Ammunition.
But
If your
that's it.
company is that, we get it. We get it. We get it. Anything else, sir? Are we done?
So, based on this assessment that they gave just now, in terms of their ERM, how would you rate each risk category? So we have ops,
Market,
legal, rep, ops, and
ERM
Hey,
overall.
all over.
he's a grand poobah. He was a grand poobah.
okay. So market is, how would you rate market? 3 being good in terms of a risk rating on the issue.
This is why are we doing this?
I like them
I need
all.
some water.
In terms of the
Like them all.
issues
They
demonstrated,
well.
listen to the question, in terms of the issues demonstrated,
It's presented well.
right? So our inherent risk assessment of market would be what? The 3, right?
You did well. You did well.
Okay, so legal.
5.
You get lunch tomorrow, but you get
No, based on the issues, not the person now.
So what are you trying to say? Do you want to give me high marks because it's me?
No, we're doing a risk
Yeah, that gives
evaluation,
them evaluation
right,
of
of
the
the
risk.
issue. So based on the issue, how would you rate legal in this context? Risk is high, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be like a 5,
Yeah.
right? Say 5 being the high one. Yeah. So
Yeah, not the presentation.
Oh,
how would we say rep? How would we say rep?
Yeah, reputation.
Oh, yeah.
Rep is also high.
Right, yeah.
And then we also have ops.
This is
Yeah.
risky. Straight across the
Operational
board.
risk is-
And the investment is the same.
Right? So overall,
And the investment is the
That's a
same.
question.
Iris.
yeah.
Just me personally, I was confused with the legal risk part. Just me personally, because I'm like, okay, we don't pay to use WhatsApp. People pay to use anywhere. So my thing is, how I could go sue a company
they're
for
controlled.
a breach that I didn't pay for. Like,
But-
what is my
When you
They're
But-
sign up
controlled.
for WhatsApp,
But-
you sign, you read, if you read the terms and conditions,
And
it
user
speaks to the
agreement,
end-to-end
yeah.
encryption. So they're
But-
telling you, even if you're not paying for this,
Be
You are-
secure.
secure. What you
But still, WhatsApp itself as an organization,
Any
WhatsApp
court.
itself as an organization still
court.
has standards and guidelines that they themselves are to
I
follow.
understand that, but that's
So
from the
that can still formulate in a breach.
I understand that from WhatsApp, the company's point of view.
Mhm.
I'm talking about
a user.
You as a
As a
user,
user.
if you have agreed,
specifically in the legal context.
because if you have agreed to the terms and the conditions, and they
Yeah,
have
then-
freed themselves from
Yeah.
all liability
Yes.
and all
Which
breaches,
they
you have
probably
no
did.
recourse.
So then for me, it was hard for me, even though I understand it exists,
Unless it's
it
a
was hard
class
for me to
action.
digest that part.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
all I wanted to.
And then again too, if you take out the personal of it and look at it, if you were, like you said, we don't pay for it, but these persons, I don't know if you see the little ads pop up every now and then, those persons are the persons that are
Advertisements.
investing
And your
Millions
WhatsApp?
of dollars in.
What's up?
Add this
So
pop
I'm
up in your
You
WhatsApp?
never
You have
seen
to
a
refuse
pop-up
it.
yours?
No.
I think in the beginning it gives you an option whether you want
That's
to.
pop-ups.
Yeah.
That's pop
All those are
It has
advertisements.
in the
Okay, so
upgrades.
some people have
why
Right, if you
I
keep
don't
up to date,
upgrade.
Okay.
that would be why.
Okay.
So those persons now have entered into agreement with the company that we can use your free site to touch our 1.5 billion users with our advertisements. So now that we know that you're unsafe, we're losing money as a result.
That's good. And I
They
don't
can
expect
go.
y'all to know the answers
Yeah.
necessarily. I just wanted to put it out there
Thanks,
because I
thanks.
was.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. Yeah, we appreciate it. Iron sharpens iron, thanks.
So Facebook did a strategic alliance with this strategic buyout of WhatsApp, right?
There was,
I think
As a-
February of this
As a
year.
part of their
Yeah.
platform, right?
Right.
Social media.
They bought for like 20.
So given the systemic impact, right, as to what has happened with this issue, what do you think Facebook is going to do right now? Or what are some of the
Knowledge
controls
Exactly.
that Facebook should implement to mitigate this legal rap ops issues and potentially market? Because the market side will impact the Facebook.
Mhm.
Because I don't know if WhatsApp's balance sheet has enough contingency buffer to absorb any substandard losses,
oh yeah.
right? So
19
what are
billion
some of
ain't
the?
enough? 19 billion ain't enough? Plenty. Plenty
You
enough.
never know by the
That could be
time
one hit.
FTC decides to make
To
some
waive
amendments.
penalty.
But be mindful now.
Mhm.
What they did, what Facebook did was they bought out the only other competition that they had against their
Yeah.
messenger. What
Yeah,
was
he's cleaning the
WhatsApp?
market up.
So he actually took the right. So he actually took the competition.
Right. So he, notwithstanding, he purchased the competition, but he also assumed.
The responsibility and the liability.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Did an intro
But it's heavy
perspective.
because Facebook themselves are even now under
Yeah,
scrutiny.
With their confidentiality.
See,
Exactly.
But they
They
are
are
under
on
scrutiny.
breach.
They are under scrutiny for Facebook on its own right
Yeah.
now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the
But-
company
so
now as a
in
whole
addition-
needs to be faced with.
Do you know because of this, right? I ain't even talking about the Facebook issue. I'm talking about the WhatsApp issue. Mark, his head is on the chopping block.
Yeah, go back before.
You know that,
So
right?
he may have brought risk to WhatsApp.
And all he will do
He may have
is
added-
He
leave
brought,
the
he
company
brought
and there
risk
will
to
be a
his
new
whole
CEO.
social media
Yeah.
conglomerate,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? So it sounds good to get rid of the competition, but at what cost?
Yeah. But
Right?
again, too,
Stakes are even
maybe
higher.
with the with the
He could have
company
done it
needs to do-
silently.
So what's the solution?
I think they need a strong, beyond going into documentation and disclosures and confidentiality, increasing all of that. I think they need a strong, this would be something more reputational. Outward showing to the public that this happened. Yes, we are in a time where these people's lives are revolved around getting your personal information.
Okay.
So I feel as if they go the operational risk way to mitigate that risk first and put it out there that this here is the proof, the new thing, the new upgrade that they put out. This here is going to protect this from ever happening again. Should something else come up, we're going to be actively throughout the years, throughout the months, finding ways to bring
Monitoring.
it to our own system to protect it from these things happening again to you from persons that are going to use it for the wrong reasons.
Stress testing.
Yes.
Stress testing,
What
one.
about the financial implications of making that statement even an upgrade?
It-
Because I'm now leaving myself open to
No.
legal risk.
Something else.
addition.
But again,
You don't
with
have to do it
everything-
so much in that
Hold
way.
on,
You can
wait,
use it as a
time out.
marketing campaign.
Time out.
Can't you?
Let's focus on the solutions.
Yeah.
I love the
So stress
debate.
test.
That's great. I love the passion, right? But remember, you could be making a decision and you could be there all day, talking on things that just off the cuff. Now, I think everybody was trying to do some writing. Y'all been up here for a while. Y'all ain't writing nothing yet. No, but I'm just saying to you. I'm just saying to you. I'm trying to get you to understand something. I'm trying to understand something.
Times.
I
We
got you.
appreciate it.
Okay,
Okay.
now, hold on now. Let's focus on the solution. What is the solution? You risk managers.
Like you said,
Coming up with something.
Again,
What is
again,
it? What is it?
like you said, stress
okay,
test.
upgrade of the system
What?
that now has the bug fix inside
Okay.
of it.
The first thing that they have decided to do is change their strategy. With
Change
their
the strategy. Boom.
Because their strategy was off. They were focus
on
on
profit.
profit.
And
So
not-
now they are
and not
taking that
security,
strategy.
security of data and profit.
Yeah,
So-
profit can be automatic, but at least
Now, now, as a part of the strategy, what do you think is one of the key things?
Fix it.
Security.
Security in what way?
Data.
Data.
Yeah.
You have two vehicles.
Personnel.
System.
Ring
Personnel.
fence the two
Yeah.
businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
WhatsApp separate, Facebook separate.
Yeah.
And even come up with a third, a fighter brand if you want to, a different one.
Exactly.
Come up with a
He
fighter.
should
So
not have been
when
so public.
so
in
when
that.
there's any issue that blows up, it's condensed and
Yeah.
contained,
Yeah.
right? So there's a contamination wall, say it.
He doesn't want to do that.
Shut
No, but
up.
he
But
didn't
that's
have
the
to.
but that's
Legislation
the
is actually
problem.
looking at that, and he doesn't want to do it.
But see, what you have to look
That's
at
the
Mark
issue.
Zuckerberg, his whole thing was he monopolized the social media. So if I was to downplay that, then I downplay me. I don't get that
No,
big
but the
shine.
problem is he can still dominate everything
still-
because it's two separate legal institutions, right? Two separate silos, and then you can have
But aren't,
you
but
can have a
aren't
holding
they
company.
but aren't they still
Yeah.
separate?
Right?
Yeah.
Aren't they still
He can
separate?
layer and tear.
No, his greed.
This ain't about his intention of
Yeah.
what.
Yeah.
Listen to this now. I want y'all to get it.
He doesn't
When
have a
your
risk
issues
management team.
become systemic,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
Okay.
It's no longer the board talking.
No.
It's the
Regulators
board,
come
the
in.
people, the regular, every
Yeah.
single person.
Yes.
Everyone who's affected and could potentially be infected.
Yeah.
So he could forget him feeling like he could lose his company.
Good
More
news.
than likely will lose his company.
There was a suggestion that he should dismantle Facebook.
Separate them into the.
Of course.
You know, and
He should do it
but he
willingly.
doesn't want to do
He
that.
should do it willingly.
He should have done that when he
But who would want to?
With segregation.
He was
He
still
should not have
on it,
done
but
it.
you would
Yeah,
still on it.
yeah.
But guess what, businesses evolve.
His greed and
right?
arrogance
Sometimes
is showing
you
forth.
sometimes you go into
won't
a
be bigger than
business
Bill
with
Gates.
one vision, and then
He's
things
not.
happen in the market that show you a niche.
But that's
Right,
the
that
problem,
redirect,
when your
you know what I
strategy
mean?
doesn't
Business
want to
development.
evolve
Right,
on
and it has to
your
be
own
like-
personal.
Yeah.
To respond to the market, right? You have to be able to respond to the market.
And Basel talks about that. Like the inflexibility of management, right? That's what stunts a whole lot of business growth.
I think too, because you had it right for so many years, you think now that you're unstoppable or untouchable, and now you see that you really aren't. So now what do you do? I think they're just stuck with their pants to their ankles at this point because it's like we didn't expect this.
I don't think he was ever right. I think he was just unregulated.
He's unregulated.
So he was
So-
wrong.
Responsible
So regulation.
Yeah, regulation needs to be put into place for social media.
Hmm.
Again, it's not the same thing, almost like the too big to fail. Look at it. He was such a monster of an institution that everybody, oh, you know what he doing? He did this, he started this, he could finish this.
But there are
Nobody was
models
there to
out
say
there
this
he
right or
could
this
have
wrong.
followed.
Whom?
Again, to regulate.
Which model that was successful?
Is saying to the
Isn't he?
world.
Isn't he under
Let's
the
go
freedom,
Yeah,
the
there are
freedom of
models he could have
expression,
followed.
or freedom of thing am I?
Information Act.
So how you gonna regulate that?
But a lot
He turned it into
a
an
lot of things
exploitative
fly until problems happen.
But
Right.
again, how could you regulate
We
something
already
that?
addressed
We
that
take your
though. Once it
license.
becomes systemic,
You take your license, you
all
modify your
that
license.
comes out, trust me. If it wasn't regulated, it now become regulated. If it wasn't a problem before, it's a problem now.
But now,
But
the
now-
way
Then
with
regulators go
regulations
look
now,
for
there was a lot
clauses
of
they
government
never
involvement.
enforced. So
Do
it
you
might
want
be
the
an
government
issue of
involved in your
enforcement.
social media?
But
I mean,
that'd be just
businesses
like-
now, companies already use it. Well, we want to hire Jermaine today. We go on Jermaine's Facebook page and he bear about talking about X, Y, and Z. I don't think he's a good
Business
risk
don't look at
manager. He
LinkedIn
don't
no
look at
more
his own risk.
at your profile.
Yeah,
They go on
They go on
Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah,
So
they
do
don't
I
go on
want
LinkedIn
the
no more.
U.S. government, because that's the court that's dealing with it now, to know all of
Oh,
my
companies
personal
in your
business?
WhatsApp now though.
Oh yeah, even if
In
it's
WhatsApp
private.
now.
yeah.
But you just said it. You just said it last week.
boss number.
But you just. But you just said it last week. You just said it last week into the last class. If somebody comes for an interview, you want his Facebook status, you want his Instagram status, you want his email. So you can check his WhatsApp. You can check his WhatsApp and Facebook.
Trust me, somebody, somewhere on this island have your number.
Yeah.
Somewhere, somehow, someone have your number.
Or let's look at it like
And
this.
guess
This
what?
company, your big position.
I just
We
need
get
your
your
number.
higher up. But you know
Yeah,
what?
so you- so, what do you people is talking? My company sent out an
My
email.
number here, that's my Facebook number.
Recently, and it's like we need to update your contacts, and they want like all these like
Continuity
they
of
wanted my
business.
cell phone number, and I look
It's
at that, and
necessary.
like it's
No.
business,
But that's what they're saying it is, continuity of business.
Hold on,
It's
hold on,
continuity of
stop it.
business.
What's wrong with us in this country? What's the deal?
Yeah.
Give the people your number, that's where you work. You can't
Like, when I off, I don't want to be bothered.
You don't need my personal.
No.
No, but see, that's a
Business
difference.
continuity, what if there's a disaster?
Don't get it mixed up. They never said, give me your personal contact. They said, give me a cell number that I can reach you at.
Okay.
So when you're working for someone, you get a bubbler.
So what you
Why y'all talking
I
about
have to hedge my own.
hedge your own?
Okay, I
Get a bubble.
Why y'all
And I said,
listening to me?
push this one, your number.
That's just a bunch of
As
drama.
a short short, suppose there's a disaster in the building during working hours, a fire.
Okay.
And we don't know if you were out to lunch, because we can't check records at this point. We don't know if you were in the building.
Yes, that's a
So we go
major
through our-
operational
Every
risk.
company has an emergency list that they yuck with them should anything go wrong.
And Marshall.
I can need to find you, see
Let me
you
tell you
inside the
something.
building.
We had a fire in our
We need to send
building.
people back to
We had a
Lockfield.
fire, and I was trying, and everyone, I tell all my analysts, give me your contact. Blah blah blah. Months of drama. Oh da da da. Listen, I don't like you like that. Okay? Really. You know what I'm saying? We had a fire like 2 months later, and the same people who was complaining almost get themselves hurt. And guess what? They was the first set to come to me the next day. Same set of people.
Now they see
It don't
the.
make no sense. Stop catching feelings when you work for people.
Now if your boss nasty,
Duly received.
No, I'm serious. You just
Get a bubble.
listen to me.
Get a
You
bubble.
study in risk management. You just gotta know how to manage your risk. Just manage it. Oh, we going to a cocktail session. Oh, I don't drink. I don't like to tell people. Go to the cocktail session. Somebody can kill you. You about to die. No, you go there. You show your face. You shake hands. I was here. Thank you very much. See you all later.
You don't say bye, you just slip out.
Yeah, so he taught me that.
No, you have to let your presence be known. You have to make it impact. You all want, hold on now. You all want people to just pay attention to you all at the office. You just want them to listen to you and just like you. It don't work that way.
like you
No.
know,
You connect with your colleagues better outside the office.
Hallelujah.
Because when I
Connect with them.
listen to me, if I call one of y'all on the phone, I can be like, "Oh hi, man, speak to Miss Johnson, please, or Miss Deal," and then, no, I can say, "My boy, this me." What you saying? What you dealing with? Once you don't identify who you talking to, that wall of China is come down. No, that's real, and you get stuff done. Listen to me. The people who you know, and I talking about the real connection. I mean, you could bypass controls upon controls. However, right, your ability to bypass the control is also your ability to damage your own organization. So you still gotta make sure cover that synapse. So it's good to be cool, don't be no fool. I'm just saying. Alright? But that was a good case. Y'all did an excellent job. Y'all see how well y'all did? Talking about taking notes.
Who are the people in your neighborhood?
So y'all get the concept of other groups, right? Uh-huh. Okay, we got our next group coming up. Are you ready? I got something. Leave me alone.
I know you're nervous.
I think we have some excellent topics coming up tonight.
Sometimes help.
Oh Lord, they come serious now. We all going with them people. Y'all better put that back.
Don't worry about that.
Oh, you just need it there.
That's part of the plan.
We ain't reading directly on it. No. Just.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are FX Consulting Limited.
And our company comprises of the following members. Standing here in a red jacket.
Tamisha, Candlelight.
And Delores. All right?
Only my jacket got pointed out.
Red is fair skirt.
Yes, and I love red, my favorite color. Okay, so basically we are market watchers and we provide consulting services to users globally. Now we're a very new company and we have our portfolio comprises of how many?
About 10.
Okay, 10 clients. Right, clients, private base.
Yeah.
Okay, so our case study this
How did
afternoon.
you source your clients?
How do we source our clients?
We are market watchers. So we actually approach based on trending news stories. We see an issue happening. So we come on the front end and we approach headhunt for market watchers.
Just walk up to someone and say you're going to
And also
No.
referrals. We get referrals
Based
from
on the type of
clients
Right.
as well.
And we do a lot of
What's your
online.
geographic target market right now?
Mostly South America.
South America?
Yeah.
Which part?
Panama.
Panama?
Yeah.
All right. And
Any
so
Panamanian regulations about cross-border considerations? I'm really asking.
Okay.
So you going into your business. Your real source of your risk comes from your clients.
Right?
So
Panamanian.
I can get in. We're gonna get into your controls and framework and everything. But
Right.
let's what's happening with these clients.
All right.
So the Panamanian regulators, y'all just go on into Panama and just check what y'all want.
We did some research and we found that this market was lucrative and would meet our specific needs. And so right now, that is the area that we decided to target for our company.
What service y'all provide again?
We are market watchers. It's a consultancy services.
And also
What does that
portfolio
mean?
management.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
So y'all regulated
what
by
we do-
Securities Commission.
Yes.
What we do is
Under what license? What's your primary regulation? Was it SIA or what?
banking and finance.
Banking and finance? You mean central bank?
Yeah.
Which one is it?
Central Bank.
Central bank.
Central Bank.
IFA?
SIA, BIA.
Which one?
Come on.
Okay, we can skip that.
Yes. All inclusive.
All inclusive.
Yes.
You have a dual license.
Yes.
So I know you too.
Yes.
Oh! This is that new company. That's what it is. Yeah, they don't make no money. So, go ahead. Sorry, you were saying what y'all do.
Okay.
So what we do is
Context.
Yeah.
no, but you
No, he's
what we
asking
do
for
first.
questions.
Yeah, what y'all do?
Answer.
What we do a little bit
Y'all need
of
a meeting?
No.
what we do is invest for our clients.
Yeah.
We invest in the
Oh,
market.
y'all invest in it.
For our
So you're
clients.
investment managers.
Investment
Yes.
managers.
Right.
And also portfolio management as well.
With our main emphasis is on wealth management. All right. So our case study this
So you
afternoon.
let that slide.
Our
So I
case.
think y'all realize what I'm talking about.
Okay. So basically, the
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
like the LLC, yes.
Yeah. So basically, our approach as it relates to our presentation is one of a hybrid nature. And so when one of the members of the team speak, if there's something else that either one of us would chime in, we would just come in and chime in on that to support the other person. All right. So basically, what we decided to look at was a trade war. This is a current issue that's happening right now, and that is the trade war between the U.S. and China. So basically, the U.S. government, well, really Donald Trump, decided to impose some tariffs on China. The reason being, okay, so first and foremost, the tariffs that now exist were like 10%. the new tariff or the increase to China is now 25%, and which equates to some $220 billion or 25% of GMT. So what happened? What was the main reason, you may ask yourself? So why did Donald Trump decide to impose these tariffs on China? I have the answer for you. There are three main areas that he focused on, and that is what he used to fuel the tariff increase. First, he felt as though the Chinese government had stolen U.S. or American technology. He felt that they stole a number of the Americans in terms of luring Americans from the United States to China, and finally, he felt that those American companies operating in China were were imposed with some really strict criterias or access to the China market. It was really difficult for them to really operate. And so as a matter of retaliating, he said, okay, I'm going to stop this and I'm going to increase the tariffs on China. So I looked at today's paper in the Tribune. There is an article that it then comes back and say, okay, China said, okay, this is what you want to do? We're going to retaliate. This is what we're going to do. We're going to increase tariffs back to the United States. So where the U.S. was paying 5%, they too now have to pay 25%. That equates to some $60 billion in monies having to be paid back into the Chinese market as a result of what the United States did. And so as we present to you, please be open-minded to what we have to say. I said to you initially, the approach is one of a hybrid nature. So sit back and enjoy what each one of my counterparts are going to say to you this afternoon. Go ahead. Come on, Tamika, let's go.
Okay, so just to piggyback on what she started with, in terms of the tariff increase, from an investment and liquidity risk standpoint, this can affect not only the U.S. and China, but the world as a whole, because the U.S. can possibly face a recession if we have these, if this war continue, or this potential war continue, and it can have a domino effect on all countries. Case in point, the Bahamas. We import the majority of our goods, so that can significantly affect us from an investment and liquidity perspective.
Okay. And then to piggyback on the liquidity standpoint, if there are people who, like, since we import a lot of our goods from China, this trade war could actually, it's like a direct hit on consumers. So basically, consumers would be spending or would have less purchasing power, so to speak, as a result of this trade war. And as a result of this reduced purchasing power, this can, I don't know, it could hit companies as well. So if you have a company that's attempting to expand or purchase additional fixed assets, they may not be able to do so, or they may be able to purchase at a reduced amount. And then this can, at some point, it could ultimately have and it can have an impact on cash flows at some point. And then, depending on the type of business as well, if this is a company that has investments in government debt, it could have an impact on government debt as well, and ultimately portfolio valuations. And to basically hedge against the reduction in portfolio valuations, maybe the company should invest in other sovereign government debt other than the United States or China, so they could target markets like Switzerland, because I know Switzerland is like one of the up and coming markets that people are interested in investing in.
Okay. And we discuss among ourselves also the geopolitical implications. If you look at the Bahamas, I mean, just think about how many Chinese establishments we have to pass to get from here
to wherever we
Yes,
live. Right? Like 5 minutes from me is about 10 Chinese stores, even in the communities, right? We talked about Bahama, which is backed with from a Chinese bank. You talk about the point, right? So we cannot look at these kinds of stories and think, well, China is way over there and the
Right.
US is over there. We're all
It's a ricochet
impacted.
effect.
So my $200 in Walmart now has decreased by 25% in my purchasing power, right? Because these companies are gonna pass on that cost to the end consumer, right? So this was Donald Trump's war now has
become a
dragged
world
us
war.
into
Yeah,
it.
World War IV.
Okay, so $300 billion of Chinese goods imported would be hit with this 25% tariff. And I had a panic attack. I'm like, I wonder if Gap clothes come from China. And like my whole mall shopping experience flashed before my eyes, right? So, so that was one of the issues, that the geopolitical issue. Then you talk about a currency war issue, which is the market risk part of it, because you have people, Brazil and other countries are really concerned about when y'all getting this piss and match, like that is going to impact trade with everyone who trades with China, everyone who trades with the US. And Paul, us in the middle, who hoping for some crumb to fall from the table, like we would be totally engrossed in a war that really we can't benefit from, but we would feel the effects of. And I wanted to talk about one other risk, at least at the outset, about the impact, because what's actually happening is Donald Trump is trying to make the U.S. central bank change their rates, right, to fight this war with China. And we discussed, we're like, okay, can a prime minister, a president, or try to exert that kind of influence over a central bank, right? Whether the exchange rate is supposed to work to control the economic influence locally, not fight an international war. So what happens if you breach this independence, this separation between the president and the central bank? Because that's the only way he can affect this currency war.
Okay.
Well, to piggyback on what my colleague said, I was reading the whole article, and they had some pros and some people agreeing with Donald Trump and some were against him. And some people were saying that, Donald Trump want to make America great again by having everything made locally, and so everything would stay within, would be made within the country, as opposed to importing most of the stuff that they sell to consumers. I can see where his point is, where he want to keep the monies within the country, but also investors might invest in China as opposed to the U.S. So the interest rates, bond rates would probably, as opposed to bond rates will go up and interest rates will drop, which means it will be less borrowing for the country as well.
Right. So I don't know if anybody saw the news yesterday or you read today's paper relative to the report that the Department of Statistics presented as relates to GDP. There was, when you compare year over year, GDP grew by some 1.3% versus what IMF had said 2.3%. And so there were some industries, they said, that contributed to this increase. Four come right to my mind: the real estate, wholesale and trade, you have the insurance, you have the financial sector. And so again, what's happening in between the US and China will have a ricochet effect on us in the Bahamas. Look around, you see, I think about 90% of the Bahamas drive Japanese vehicles. So where you could buy these little cars for $600, gone are those days. You're not going to be able to do that. You're going to have to pay a bit more for that. And I think that too is going to affect the market in the long run. Anybody else want to piggyback off of that? Tamika? Okay. So, So you ask yourself, okay, so what are some of the countermeasures you think China, as it relates to a systemic impact? So GDP reduced by some 0.3%. American businesses, as we alluded to earlier, will feel the punch. The cost will then be no doubtly passed on to consumers. We are going to feel it. It's going to, you may not want to accept the fact now, but you're going to see it, and it's going to, when you have to travel, you're going to understand that, hey, listen, we're being affected by this as well. All right? Okay, so again, it has an adverse effect on the economy globally. It's just not in the United States. It's just not affecting China. It has a global implication for us all. And then you talk about, we talk about tipping the scale of a possible recession. So we have to be looking out for those indicators as well. As risk managers, we know that these are the things we're going to have to look out for in the near future. Is there anything else, guys?
Yeah, and then in addition to that, 4/5 of the economists that were polled by Bloomberg do agree that the United States could possibly slip into a recession if these increased tariffs on China does take place. So, like she said, you know, this will not only affect China and or the United States, but the world as a whole. So, you know, I'm not sure, I'm not sure what is being done globally to address this, but I know, you know, from a Bahamian standpoint, or us as risk managers, you know, we have to look at this in its entirety. And like you say, even with the little cars, the majority of Bahamians are driving those little cars, you know, but
Mine's not little.
I just bought one yesterday.
Mitigation.
The little cars. I mean, they're pretty, I guess, cost effective now. You know, you don't have to come with this large sum of money that the banks are asking you for.
Yes.
Debt for 5, 10, 7 years now for loans.
8 years.
Yeah, 8 years. Yes, 8 years to pay off a vehicle loan. So, you know, all in all, this war between the United States and China, with this increase in tariffs, you know, essentially will affect us.
Okay, so what we want to do now is we just want to open up the floor for a couple quick questions, 2 minutes each. And yeah. All right. So on behalf of my colleagues, we'd just like to say thank you for your time. We thank you for your patience. Good afternoon.
I've been moving.
Oh my God.
I can wait till you mean
There will be no evasion of the tax tariff.
I know it was coming.
We have questions.
So we have some questions. We have some questions.
You can't make us feel good.
Somebody mentioned that Donald Trump wanted to make America great again by saying that Americans should now with the amount of imports that America and countries like ourselves do. Do we think that we can sustain the need for the market that we get, that if we don't allow China?
So with Donald Trump, is it viable?
No,
we don't agree.
It's not even based in policy, actually.
Who's your client in this situation? Who would it be?
You are a
consumer.
Yeah.
What do you advise us as a consumer then, or as a country of consumers now, to do if this was to take effect? If this was to take effect, let's say in a month. Oh, let's be realistic. This is to take effect in a year.
No.
Is there enough time for us to prepare
Okay, as relates to being educated as to what is happening, I think we probably need to provide some more education as relates to informing the Bahamian populace on exactly what's happening, and then what I think one of the things too is we need to watch out for certain indicators. If you are minded to listen to the acting financial secretary of the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Finance is on the top of basically everything that's happening globally and the impact that it's going to have on us. And so one of the things that was stated in the article is said that the Ministry of Finance was not particularly that not concerned. They weren't what is the word I wanted to use? They weren't that averse, or they weren't bolstered in some way of what actually happened. They were somehow preparing for it. It's just that we, the Bahamians, probably just didn't know about it, and so now is a good time now. Now that we find ourselves being exposed to this type of risk, we need now to inform ourselves, get to know what's going on, learn from leaders in our community around the world, what they're doing to try to stimulate the economy, and then we probably could take some tidbits from them and then try to implement them here in the Bahamas.
But again, in comparison to countries that actually are manufacturers and farmers, our major industry is tourism
Yes.
and the financial sector. We can make money, but can be self-sustaining. And the things that we need to import, and we may not import, we do. But
Yes.
we may not import a lot of Chinese food. And I said, but we do. With regards to and cabbage.
That's what you
think.
And spinach, yes, and spinach.
Clothing,
Toys.
phones,
Yes,
everything.
electronics,
Toys,
yeah.
appliances.
If they were to almost double in cost, then what do we do as a nation?
We have to find
These things
new.
that we
Yeah,
have
we
to
can
find
have
new
alternatives,
markets.
yeah.
We have to find new.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to find new markets.
There are no
And again, we talked a little bit about geopolitical risk, and that's what happened when you kind of have all your eggs in one basket. Yes, there's an international impact, but someone somewhere is not gonna present a 25% increase. You see, it's a WTO question.
So, I mean, but don't you think what is good in the long run, trying to bring jobs and manufacturing back to the US?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that some people for it and some are against it. Because, you know.
In the long term.
Yeah.
I think it's good how he's going about
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
It should be done in stages.
Yes.
Not as a. That's exactly
A major blow. Yeah.
However, though, I mean, you know,
Or maybe
China,
some markets he could
China does.
yeah.
China really gained its power by its low dollar value currency.
Right.
So, don't you think that they may try to devalue the currency again to offset these tariffs?
Yes, that is one of the stimulus that they want to cut taxes.
Yeah.
That's really one of the stimulus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
To offset.
Yeah.
The real question is, what is going to be the counter benefit from the US?
If they can.
Or not even the US, like other countries who are going to be impacted by this, because China has increased their footprint not only in the Bahamas but in other countries as well.
Because the market now is so ripe for Americans or for purchasers, businesses to now purchase from China if they're going to devalue the offset. So don't you think they'll kind of.
But that's going to stimulate the virgin market in Asia.
Exactly. Or
Yes.
somewhere else.
Yes. Yes.
That
Yes.
demand.
Yeah.
I got a question. You said in the geopolitical climate, right, that Trump wanted to use the central bank in order to decrease the to either combat China's increase in tariffs by reducing the U.S. dollar or by increasing the value of the U.S. dollar. Because I'm thinking if the U.S. dollar, if every currency right now is traded based on the U.S. dollar, wouldn't that affect everybody?
But that's the point that
That's the point she made.
Yeah.
It's international.
But the point that
Kenny made that point.
is rather
You made that point.
in the context of the yen and that trading currency. That's specific. Not so much
to euro, GBP, and all of the other.
Okay, because I was under the impression that the US dollar was the dollar that every country would trade.
You are right. But she had a different, it's more like
Transaction
currency
specific.
concentrated to that specific
Yes.
country.
I don't know much about the WTO that's now coming up a lot these days, but isn't there some kind of regulation?
And I really
I don't know much. Isn't there some kind of regulation? I'm not sure if China is a part of it. Are they? Before I start talking?
I don't think the US
No.
or China
Right.
are
So
interested.
they're unregulated, so that's why
Really?
these kind of things can happen then.
So ultimately, right? How does your presentation align itself with the WTO considerations right now? Because you are locally incorporated in Bahamas. You have a client base that's centric to Panama.
He was in Panama, you
I'm just saying.
Come back to us, huh?
couldn't let that go,
I'm
right?
just saying, and, you know, and your human resources is primarily Bahamian.
Outsourced.
Outsourced.
hear the question.
That's a whole. That's
Yeah, before he put us in, he was supposed to get a harder question.
But so the thing here is now, not so much for too much debate, but rather, you know, it's something to think about, right? In the context of WTO, we're already discussing it largely as a country, so it is really something for us to think about. We are on the fence of our own potential phase of a Brexit. The U.S. is already experiencing that now, right, with the shutout of China. I mean, two first world countries. I mean, at the G7. I mean, these guys, we don't even sit at the
No.
observer.
No, they even invited.
Okay, we're not even in there. So, from a geopolitical standpoint, we don't even. Okay, fine. The Ministry of Finance can take the position of a wait and see approach, and we're going to prepare and brace ourselves. But the reality is, there's very little that we can do in terms of an immediate, national communique to say, okay, everybody, stop this, stop that.
We can't even choose sides.
No, you can't.
Because the Chinese impact here is so great, and then our
Yes.
dependence on
On
the US
yes.
is great. So we
So it's a natural conflict of interest.
Exactly.
Right?
They're not the only two markets available. They may be the biggest.
We can't afford to get in bed with anybody else.
But we
So-
but we
Right,
too
because we have a twin size bed.
Yes.
And a certain mattress.
Let's share in bedroom, share in bed. 3, 4 children in one bed.
If you put it against the wall, you might get lean up a little bit.
Yeah.
But no. And then you know the way they making beds now, they just have these little membranes and stuff and the little. I'm like,
No
okay,
cushion.
I can get you that on
you
your
gotta make beds differently. But the point is, I mean, we have to. I like your question because we have to begin to talk about stimulating other industries.
right diversification.
But this is where we are from a risk management perspective, right? Remember I told you, at the end of the day, right? Really and truly, if each of our sectors had a true risk manager, I think
We would be doing different.
we'd be doing a whole
We
lot
would
of
be doing
things.
different things.
Proactive.
Those numbers.
I mean, even our crisis management regime, right? But again, and this is only a 9 months course where we sit down and have a good chat, and then everybody passes the exam, and then go with their merry way, right? But the reality is, risk management is a discipline, right? And it's a discipline that a lot of people are not connected to. You don't need any specialists, right? All you need to do is to be connected to certain pieces of information, connect the dots towards a solution, not a never-ending debate, right? And name calling, special radio shows, right?
So who's our country's risk manager for instances as of such? Like who's responsible with sector with
every sector has its own, really it's to some extent like, right now, coming from
From the
I don't
government
know.
standpoint, or
No,
what about the auditor general?
the thing is this, that no
Yeah,
one
we do have
is
one.
solely accountable for this management in the country. Everyone has a piece of the pie, and unfortunately, there's a say again.
Are they setting up committee?
Yeah, they're doing something now.
Yeah, that name.
They're doing something now. So I would have attended this conference in 2011, right? And we were having a debate on the, of course, subprime mortgage crisis and all this kind of thing, right? Well, that's exactly what it is.
Yes.
So I made this presentation to the central bank. SCB was there, ICB was there, Ministry of Finance, and the point was macroprudential supervision,
Right.
right? To which we are now almost 10 years later.
Wow.
Right? So much of this has already evolved, right? And now you have, I don't know if persons would have seen it, they're now trying to develop corporate management and risk strategies at the country level, and they're scrambling around asking for where the reports were, right? Like, I already checked out. What you talking about? 10 years
that was
ago?
right.
What you talking
I
about?
don't
That's
need
something
emails.
that was presented on.
Are they willing to pay for
Right.
it?
It's not
You can
relevant.
just, you know,
Because the data's changed.
you said we have a problem.
The whole metrics have changed, right? But at the end of the day, the concept was having a super regulator to regulate the decisions of all of the sectors and how they could have been stimulated. That was the whole vibe.
And how they
And
interact, because you
yes,
can't
yes.
have people
And
making
the
decisions only looking at one set of data
Yes.
and not how it correlates to another set of
It's
data.
all about financial services. It's so
Done, so done.
anyway. That's a personal thing for me. But the reality is, right, this is why I say you can make a change in your own organization. Any window of opportunity for you to be able to communicate, right, effectiveness in terms of solutions and impact. Don't just run on with the debate, right? Because we good for that.
Yeah.
All day.
Talk.
As a risk manager, you automatically stimulated towards solutions. And I can tell you, I don't, if you're not changed by this class, something wrong with you. I ain't gonna lie. Something's definitely wrong. So, for great presentation. We have one more.
Yes.
Enough time.
No, you can do it in 15 minutes. You can do it in 15 minutes.
I don't mind staying by.
You can do it in 15
Same
minutes.
topic, right? You didn't think so? Let's stop it. This one won't stay back.
2 minutes.
Are you hungry?
2 minutes. No, girl, I had Wednesdays before I come here.
So you remember me not?
But you guys did really well. I don't think you guys understand. You're all touching all the subjects. You're all touching all the content.
It's like I feel
I mean, they mean they won't go there, move it.
Everybody has signed?
Everybody signed?
I have.
So, last presentation. And it's like, we really have to.
When we start, you in your neighborhood. In your neighborhood.
Okay. That's my little boy, but I tell him to do before you go to bed.
I know.
As soon as he reach home, don't even have no discussion. Go straight in the top.
Yes.
We ain't even talking.
You shouldn't eat. You should stop
Yeah.
starving the boy.
Soon as he come out the top, straight to the dining table, go do your homework. And if you ain't have no homework, do some reading. Automatic. While you waiting for that dinner come in. When dinner reach, love yourself. We're gonna have a discussion about your day, and then you got about 10-15 minutes of TV, hip in the bag. I just said, and then if I feeling some kind of way, I can let him play me 2 songs. Go through. You can pee on something. That's all I know.
I was waiting for it.
Don't be out of the way, you can sit there catching no dust. That's Let's go. What's happening?
Let's go. Who are the people in your neighborhood?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This
Spare
evening.
us the semantics. So, don't worry. I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to help you out. So, don't worry. We can get past all of that.
Good.
So,
Go
you
ahead.
all are company what?
We are a company of international risk management team. We
Okay.
are based in Japan.
Okay.
We are sourced for work.
Okay. Not Japan.
And consultancy work for sovereign as well as international corporations.
Yep.
We're currently doing a risk overview for a current day event for two companies that would like to keep their identity confidential. One of them is a soybean group, and the other one is a electronic components group who facilitates electronic components. Sorry, cell phone and iPhone, cell phone and tablet group that needs to get electronic components from China. So the recent event is one that was presented just recently, and we'll start with introducing you to it with our. Excuse me, I had to take off the glasses. We'll lead you in. Our Wall Street Journal trade fight escalates as China hits the U.S. with higher tariffs. Washington layouts nearly $300 billion of imports that would face 25% levies. Our overview starts with what would be market risks from a macro point of view. The economical impact that we think would be felt by both countries from a sovereign point of view and impacting both companies that have come to us would be that there would be economical impact and employers. Initially, their worldwide way of reducing cost and risk would be by reducing human resource, because cost would be the first impact. So we were looking at how we would be able to assist them with a resolution for that. For global markets, the USD is still holding as of 2 days of this initial reverberation of China putting tariffs back on the US. So the yuan has dropped, USD is holding, the yen has gone up. Because Japan has seized itself and is posing itself as an alternative source for components and sourcing, and have presenting themselves as strength in the market, and would we ourselves recognize them as an alternative source for our electronic component sourcing company.
Okay, so briefly, I'm just going to talk about the operational risks from a micro concentrated point of view. So when you're looking at the retail products, it's the supply and chain impacts. We also have the cost increases relative to the consumers, which we discussed earlier for obvious reasons, and also the institution's viability and profitability.
So our view of the scenario, we kind of targeted from a macro and micro component, some of which we discovered was the investment risk, the reputational risk, the credit risk involved. From a shareholder standpoint, the value of the products that would be affected in this situation. We talked about the credit risk and currency risk, which she would have articulated earlier. And that's all I have.
Okay, I'm into all that stuff, right? Because I don't know, I missed the first presentation, so I don't know what you guys discussed, but several interesting things I found about this case. First off, the goods that are primarily imported from China are fruit, veggie, and livestock. Why is it that the U.S. is importing these things from China that are frozen when they have the mass to provide for themselves? Particularly because financially, farmers are given tax concessions to stimulate the country in becoming more self-sustaining. So that boils down to a governance point for me, particularly from the CIRM framework. Who is it that we're hiring and employing as our leaders? Okay, are they competent? I read the Wall Street Journal version and I read the New York Times, and the New York Times article was more salacious on the story, and they spoke more to who Trump was as a person and whether or not he is able to. They're speaking to how he doesn't have the confidence of the other G7 country leaders, and how he's basically like a child, a spoiled child, one in his own way, and doming the country. So it was doom and gloom from that aspect. Similarly with our organizations, who is it that we have at the board? Jermaine said that in the first, and I think his very first presentation when he spoke to operational risk and the governance element, the corporate governance element. Who are these leaders? Who are the board at our organization? So I think it's very important that we assess who we put in positions of power because of situations like these that could be potentially detrimental to the economy and to our personal pockets. Because case in point, I can go on Amazon now and order a dress from China for $7. Will this be the case in 2, 3, 4 months? Okay, so it's going to hit all of us at the end of the day.
Any questions? Go ready, go ahead.
Yes.
I know. But guess what? Let me explain something to you. That was an excellent presentation, by the way. I did this for a very strategic reason. As I tell you, I'm very strategic. Don't you get asked some of the hardest questions or some of the most ridiculous things, like right at the end of the day when you're ready to leave?
Yes.
Or like
a meeting.
What you mean?
or like
Meeting.
you would be in a meeting, drained, ready to go, and then they'd be like, okay, time for you to do the... Really?
Crazy.
Really? So, what's the one thing we learned? We learned the importance of marginal utility. You're only as effective after a certain point in time.
Yeah.
After that point in time, you ain't trying to learn nothing. You ready to go. Right? So which means, which means now, in order for you to be effective, you got to make sure, catch the window of communication when everybody ready to hit. Right?
Or not.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why I like to be first.
Listen,
Well, that's why we didn't
you have to
mind
be
being
prepared to be
last.
first.
You don't be strategic.
No, it's fine, keep in mind, as a risk manager, given your constraints, that's when you have to be the most dynamic.
Once the risk has been
Because you
identified,
got to deal with
immediately
some real drama. Because you got to deal with the fact that we ready to go home, ain't nobody trying to hear you.
Hungry.
No. I heard what they said.
I did.
Yes.
I did.
I understood
Yeah.
everything you said. Yes.
And it was a very good presentation. It was
Yeah.
a very good observation. It was very technical.
Hers was fluffed. You didn't really give points. You just yours
That's right.
was
She
fluffed.
was just nervous.
Yeah.
No, that was actually some good stuff.
I think the
Fast bullet point, and I moved along.
Summarize
Everything for you and moved along. She ready to go.
So if y'all remember, y'all remember that ERM chart,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Y'all remember that ERM chart?
Yes.
Yours actually look at that.
Yes.
Okay. Exactly.
Notice.
So you got your chart.
Yes.
Do you also realize I can let y'all have a seat?
Thanks.
I can let y'all have a seat. I can let y'all have a seat. Because I ain't get no chair. So, whose drink is this?
Don't feel
Alright, that's fine. So, right. Strategic observations. So, we're getting 60 to 80% now. Right?
Yes.
Right? Right? Good. We have a very positive confidence interval on that. I see some deviations in the face. Yeah, it's okay. Next week is our last class together.
What?
Yes, as our last class. I'm going to actually touch some of the salient points of market risk, so I want you to review.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Don't be afraid of what you see in there. It's just a lot of technical stuff, but I need you to grasp the concepts. In your presentations, you would have already touched on them. You just have to align them with the terminology. Given that you had a presentation off the cuff, you did very well with the terminology. Very well. So you should all, I mean, at some point, trust me, coming from our first class to where we are now, y'all know y'all made a, I mean, almost like a quantum leap.
Think so?
What's the curve we on?
We got a little good curve. I wouldn't say that. We got a, I would say exactly where that curve is, right? We got one of them curves.
Oh my god.
So, say again? So apparently the exam date is still going to be in August sometime.
What do you mean sometime?
We don't have 2 months.
That needs to be confirmed. So I need to book vacation soon
I'm still
after.
waiting for them to confirm. Right? So, what happened?
It's May, right?
This is May.
We have 2 more. What day next? 21?
Today is the month. I know.
Okay.
So we're gonna have our next class next week. That's the last one. We're gonna go over market risks, and immediately, well, I can let y'all do 4 and 5 and 6, and then I can start shooting y'all some information again, because I can let y'all concentrate on whatever happening in there.
Or it's not happening.
Well, here's the thing.
So don't be surprised if you be getting questions from
That ain't
us
no
in regards to
problem.
5
Here's
and
the thing.
6.
Remember, once you structure yourself, right, appropriately, at this point, you only are in the next 2 modules. That's it. Right? So nobody in August. We in May. Do you realize the conversation that we having? June, July. We only got 2 months. Right? Now, this isn't to strike fear or stimulate fear. This is you to stimulate real effective action. Right? So, when we meet again, if you all still need this, the review session. Okay, so when we meet again for the review, right? Everyone at that point should be coming with their organized notes, right? Come with your don't come through this door.
That one?
This one here. You come from the other set, but this one here, come with your organized notes, because at that point, it really ain't no mercy at that point. If you ain't do what you supposed to, how the hell we could even be reviewing? We reviewing, which means you would have read it before.
Right.
I just say it. What we talking about?
I just have one question.
Okay.
Anything that you're gonna send prior to that meeting, could you send it a few days in advance?
No.
A day?
No. The reason I'm doing that is because I want you to absorb what you have. I don't want, when I present that to you, that is actually review questions on 5 and 6.
Oh, you mean the questionnaire?
So questions I have for you is for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I don't even want you to be like concentrating on that. So when you look at that, some stuff may seem familiar, some stuff may not. We can go through the whole review session. We can probably have maybe 2 or 3 review sessions, however many you need. Do not absorb yourself in wanting review sessions. That's all I'm saying. Just prepare yourself. Believe me, the more information or questions you want, let's say it like this. Your fear should be driving you to succeed. Right? So that's the first thing. Right? We already know strategically how we should be preparing. The 15-minute or 15 minutes per, ultimate section, 3 sections, 15 minutes, we should be left with roughly about 30 to 45 minutes, right? And then we have a tolerance of about how many questions?
8.
No, it's 8 per section. That's about, we worked it out, that's 24, so you're looking at about maybe 24 to 27 questions that you could get wrong. So don't stress yourself. Okay, fine, I got a 98, whatever, right? It doesn't matter. The point is, once you have that designation, you now have to be effective in your work environment.
In the room.
In that role. I can't be walking around talking about I get 98, but what you dealing with? You know, what you talking about?
Better be able to apply it.
It's like, don't forget,
What you-
like the person who graduated med school last, they still a doctor.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go to surgery, but I just said.
But you can say that, how do you know that?
Okay, but you can find out though when you like this me. But you get the point, right? Study effectively, review effectively. When you come in class, when we get to that review session, right? Everyone should be looking like they're stressed. No, seriously. I'm talking about, it isn't that, it's just that you can't wait to just sit this exam because you just have information overload. That's the level you need to be on. You know? And then at the banquet, everybody can get all pretty up and
Can play like we don't know you.
that's cool.
Again.
Yeah, don't worry about that. We had Nick. Hit me up. Yeah. So, any questions right now, generally? No questions, no general questions? Remember, y'all can still hit me up. I'll probably get added to the WhatsApp group after. After.
What, we ready to add you now?
No. Y'all freely exchange.
He said you
Y'all
got
freely
your number.
Y'all-
You can't just tell us that.
Y'all
Don't
freely
be afraid.
exchange.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah, y'all freely exchange. Don't worry about that.
We can be free to exchange with you in the group.
There you go.
Say again?
Access.
The
Why you
group,
want
the
to
group
share
daddy.
numbers? Yeah, we
Yeah,
need.
you
Not that I
can
ever got
meet
to
you in
do
a
that.
live now, you know?
Yeah, that's
You know
what I
what?
said.
That's a
That's
good
what I
plan.
said, not that
We
I
got
got
a
to
couple
do it.
stuff tonight.
Now, I think somebody said last week, somebody said last week that this is what I do every day, right? So they say, oh, he's just be reading this, he's do this every day. Ask the regulators in here what we do. We don't do this, okay? So, every little 5 minutes I have, I allocate that to you all. No, that's fine. Don't gotta worry about that, you know. I can get me. You don't gotta worry about that. See, because you gotta understand. It can show
Yes, it does.
in your work environment. It can show when people talk about you. It can show.
Who to call when they get. So
I'm just saying. You know, we can meet up in conferences, you know,
Yeah.
locally and internationally.
Yep.
What you talking about? We can be in the same country. I'm telling you. Trust me on that. But no, I don't do this every day. No. Because when you actually doing risk management, you actually doing a whole, multiple, you gotta know regulations and all kind of. So yeah, so if you don't have the time, make the time. I don't care. Don't matter what you say. Let your excuses be your reason to do what you gotta do. I just get up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to try to do a review for your stuff. If that's what you gotta do, you gotta do it. I don't need no pity. I just saying. Do what you gotta do. Lock down for the next 2 months. Lock it down. Make it happen.
Charlie, don't tell me you'll be that.
That's it. That's it. And then y'all will be good. Now, last point, and we go on this. Last point, and we go on in this. The review session will only be as effective as your preparation. Like, I'm constantly telling you that, right? Like, seriously. At this point, 70s to 90s.
Still trying to get to the
No,
last
I
point.
serious. No. Come into the galaxy. 70s to 90s. The reason I said it is because of this, right? Everyone have different challenges at different points. But if you are consistently, at a minimum, getting 70s right now, that means you grasp the concept. You may not be able to see that question for what it is and whatever have you, but that's all right. You there. You see what I'm saying? Don't beat yourself up. Yeah, it's okay. Okay.
I don't want to take us back there.
Ain't nobody can take you nowhere you don't want to go. I just said.
Keep doing what you
I just. Hear me out.
I
Hear me out.
think it has to be to the point where we speak up and raise the right questions. We can no longer just sit back and be silent.
The course is only as effective as
Yeah,
you make it.
we have
If
to
you,
raise the right
literally
questions.
sit down in this bus
Yeah.
and just go for the ride.
No chance.
But I have to be the system as well. I've been to work all day. You know, drain up, sweating, and think about the last thing that you do, and actually think about now. You gotta cook, you gotta clean, you gotta organize yourself. Just that next, you tired, right? Marketing for KFC. But seriously, guys. No, but seriously, guys. I think y'all did pretty well. If you all see where y'all are now from that first class, trust me, right? Yeah, man. No doubt. No doubt. Y'all came up here comfortably, not even reading our stuff, despite the unique efforts. But nonetheless, though, right? It just shows how quickly you could do what you want to do.
Yeah.
So just make it happen, right? For those that need to reach out to me, for that little extra, just hit me up. Let's talk. Let's strategically work some things out.
With him.
Yeah, let's work some things out because we ain't want to leave nobody behind, eh? All right. So, I almost forgot. Not everybody is a mother, right? So I've gotten y'all like, yeah.
I know you should have given me that a long time.
Whatever.
You can do like my boss do. We didn't celebrate Mother's Day. We celebrate womanhood. All the women in the office start massages.
Massage. Thank you.
So I only have 10.
No.
You won't put any more candy. Okay, thank you. I can read this stuff. I need this
Well, that's your Mother's Day gift.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and actually a gift for your excellent presentations.
We can't get a call and compare our gifts and then you escalate it and upgrade this to it.
It's less than $100 and you can only bring your wife.
Compliance.
Yeah, they walking black.
Policy.
Okay, I ain't get that. I'm sorry, I can be here.
That's what I said. I said keto approved. I'm trying to have keto. Get to know him better.
Healthy. I try to go healthy.
Let's sit down, we can drop some stuff. Of course, I'm just 48 hours.
I know, right? There's plenty of time. Anyway, I can probably email
Yeah, hit me up.
So by email.
Anyhow, when y'all decide where y'all could be, call, email me.
Okay.
Good night.
Yes, I have my number.
Okay.
What you saying?
That's the direct, that's his number. Okay, all right.
You need to start
I
giving
thought
me
that
that
was the
number.
Who give us that number? I believe that should be a number though. I believe you tell us a fib. So I've been practicing.